Hello, everyone. My name is Curtis Nielsen. I'm here from Netrix Global to talk to you about meeting room management. A couple months ago, if you attended, Satyendra Sharma gave us a great high-level overview of the integration process of meeting rooms and some of the complications and hurdles that you have to overcome. So today, I'd like to talk to you about how to manage those to maximize the uptime and minimize your headaches in those new rooms. So as I mentioned, my name is Curtis Nielsen. I'm currently the manager of our digital workplace department here at Netric Global. I have been in this industry about 17 years. I started as an AV automation programmer in the industry and seek to continue to use those programming skills and automation to enhance and streamline business solutions, as well as analyze the data and help guide our customers to the best experience possible. After being in the automation side, I have been managing now for close to 5 years. Our agenda today, we're going to first go over some of the common causes of meeting room failures and some of the issues users may see, some of the hidden cost of that room downtime, as well as underutilization of rooms, why vendor-specific portals fall short, and then how Netrix has chosen to unify room management across platforms and locations. And then the return on investment of real-time alerts and consistent reporting that you can experience. So let's dive into some of the meeting room failures, and we're going to start off with some of the issues that your users may experience. So let's talk about some of the connection errors that your users can experience. That could be unable to even join a scheduled meeting. You may attempt to join it and see an errors such as you see on the screen that you are unable to connect. It could be a failure to fetch a calendar to where the one-touch join does not work. And within that, now users are going to be delayed because they're going to have to search for the meeting ID and password and attempt to dial that manually. You could also get into scenarios where that doesn't work as well. So now we're wasting even more time. And there could be times where maybe the meeting connects and you're connected, but the room does not kick off any of the system startup macros to get the far end participants on the screen, the audio and video routed and working properly. So the room doesn't appear to be working, even though you may be connected. And there are also connectivity issues with ancillary devices, control room protocols, and lighting and shades interfaces, video switchers, things like that, that all need to be monitored and managed. We can get into situations where even though the meeting kicks off and everything is there, that there is no audio. You may have warnings on the screen about microphones being muted or no audio detected, but this could manifest itself such as to where people on the far end of a call cannot hear the people in the room. It could be the exact opposite, where the people in the room may be able to cannot hear the far end, even though the microphones are working and the far end can hear them. The audio quality just may be poor. You could have some static, crackling, robotic noises. You could also experience some feedback or echo that is on the call. And at rare cases, the audio itself could be too loud or even too quiet in the room, and you lose your ability to control that, and it's very disturbing and distracting to users and hinders the overall meeting experience. There are other issues where we could have video issues, where video is not detected in the room. This could be the inability to see participants in the room with either their cameras not working, the display could be powered off, or ha have a black screen, or even show an error that says that there's no signal going to the screen. You could have the loss of camera in your room to where the far end participants on the call cannot see your camera and cannot see the people in the room, even though you can communicate. You can also have issues with sharing content, whether that's a wired or wireless connection. It could also come from like a local PC, several different source devices. But any issues that we have trying to share content in meetings can lead to frustration in users and really a lack of confidence in the systems. And then in extremely rare scenarios, this typically comes down to firmware bugs. There are times where we've seen that you cannot actually view the remote content, that a remote participant starts sharing. It may even flip to a black screen or just have an error altogether trying to sync to their content. So the underlying causes of some of these, while those are the issues that kind of manifest that the user will experience, these could come down to software issues. Software is running at a high level in all these conference rooms, and many issues can be traced back to software failures or even updates that were pushed. Many of these conference rooms today, in the way that AV has evolved, the firmware updates are kind of managed by vendors or by larger corporations such as Microsoft with their Teams platform and Zoom or Google and Meet, and they're out of the integrator's hands. However, we can help you track and trace and put in processes in order to ensure that this is as smooth as possible. There could be device communication failures that could be software related to where there just aren't good reconnect routines. There could also be complete soft lockups of the hardware itself. It could also lead to hardware failures with each of these rooms, especially the larger they are in size, we will run into some hardware failures at times. And there are a lot of different hardware devices in these rooms, such as the speakers, the microphones, the displays, the cameras, the Teams or Zoom room type codec, the touch panels that control it, the audio processors, control processors. So with the amount of hardware in there, it is common that they will fail at some point in time, and those lead to some of the longest downtime of rooms. So with loaners, and the sooner we can detect those problems, the quicker we can have rooms up and running. There's also network and IT issues that can occur in meeting rooms as well, as the audiovisual world has kind of evolved over the past couple of decades. It has grown more and more reliant on IT, and things have moved over onto the network. That could even just be from simple audio video over IP to the resource accounts that are needed for all these rooms to dial in and the conditional access policies that are set up. This could come down to the network setup as well, such as quality of service issues or IGMP snooping and proper VLAN segmentation. I threw out a few of these IT terms that need to be set up, but different devices require different levels of network support, quality of service, and bandwidth requirements. That's why it's important to have proper VLAN segmentation as well, so that way all of the proper traffic can get prioritized as it needs. And that network is more and more crucial for the stability of long-term meeting rooms. Um, the other common issues that we can see are user errors. This doesn't happen on too frequent of a basis, but they do come up, and usually these come from a lack of consistency among systems or overcomplicated systems. As systems grow larger in size, it can be a tendency to overcomplicate the use of those, offering more features than are truly needed, which increases the upfront cost as well as some of the frustration with the users. It could also come from improper training and documentation that all contribute here. The end result here, when we have recurring issues, especially if they're common in these rooms, is you will move to a reactive support model without some sort of proactive monitoring in place. That's going to be frustrated users calling either an IT or help desk support, which results in loss of productivity for everybody in the meeting room, as well as the IT resource that is, rushing to the room to try and help get that back up and running. That also leads to IT, who's typically not versed in the audiovisual and meeting room solutions, frantically attempting to locate which device has an issue and hoping that a reboot of that device will resolve the issue and get them back up and running. Otherwise, then we are looking at moving meeting rooms, disrupting daily flows, things like that. Many of these issues will lead to poor root cause analysis because the focus then becomes so much on getting the meeting room active at that point in time when it's needed. And as we're taken away from our other responsibilities, it eliminates the time frame available to go through proper root cause analysis, which can lead to more and more problems being present over time. That causes, once again, long-term stability issues, and the sustainability of the rooms does suffer. This can also lead to some larger corporation implementing what we like to call clipboard heroes. Those are people that walk around every single morning to every single conference room with a clipboard and a checklist of items to test. We still have seen several large companies do this and implement this, but that leads to a lot of time taken away from daily responsibilities and time needing to be dedicated just to testing room systems when really you can have a managed solution do that for you. That manual documentation also is rarely kind of imported into a computer system to where we can kind of track that week over week to really identify, root causes or long-term problems that need to be addressed. Each and every one of these does result in low user adoption. The user's trust in the meeting rooms to perform is going to lessen over time, and to where users will stop wanting to even use the equipment, or they'll be calling IT every single time they need to use the room to have somebody else come set it up for them and kick it off and make sure everything is running smooth. So the lack of standardization and simplicity in systems also leads to low user adoption, as well as they may get confused when they walk into a room. That's actually why there's been somewhat of an uptick in BYOD, or bring your own device type systems, over the years, because users will prefer to use their device that they know how it interacts, they know where all the apps are located, they know how to do what they need to do. Even if a touch panel is programmed as simple as possible, it can still be intimidating to users who have never used it before. So let's take a look at some of the costs of that downtime and underutilization of the investment that your business has put in. First, let's take a look at why meeting room management is essential for fluid operations, and some meeting room facts over that. So according to a Microsoft survey, between February 2020 and March of 2023, there was about 192% increase in the total time employees spent in meetings or on calls. This was about three times the total time and total number of meetings on their calendar that has grown, and it's continued growing even since 2023. There's been a 91% of global employees that report they use some sort of online meeting platform on an almost daily basis, such as Microsoft Teams or Zoom. There are 76% of respondents state that video conferencing is a top three technology priority for all businesses. And there's research from a Harvard business that showed that sustainable and seamless operating room systems led to about a 20% increase in team collaboration and problem solvings. What does this all kind of lead to? It also leads to 65% of users um, notating that they have faced issues with outdated or incompatible technology, which causes delays and frustration in their daily work. We have seen about a 30%, or studies by Deloitte shows about a 30% um, underutilization of office space, which wastes valuable resources. And then a report from the Winehouse research did show that there was about a 25% increase in employee retention rate when they had seamless and stable meeting room systems to be able to use. As we get into system downtime, what happens when a user walks into a room and experiences these issues? Either they're going to make a quick decision to all pack up their things and walk around the building, finding a suitable conference room that's available that they can attempt to move their meeting to, or they're going to call IT or help desk to run to the room in an attempt to kick everything off for them and get everything working. When that happens, the IT staff does suffer loss of productivity, as we kind of previously mentioned. They're taken away from their typical daily duties, and they may be on something urgent that they're having to be pulled away from. And all of that loss of productivity just continues to exponentially increase. If this is like a large board meeting with executives in there, there could be important decisions that need to be made quickly for the decision or for the business, and some of those decisions can be delayed due to the inability to properly discuss topics because their meeting is not running properly. All of these consistently poor performing rooms leave a bad impression with customers as well. And there have been research studies showing that there's a potential loss of new revenue. If customers don't see you have confidence in your own systems, why are they going to trust you with their business and enterprise? All of this, as I mentioned, is a loss of productivity as well. And when you want to calculate that total loss of productivity, if you just take the hourly salary of all employees that have this downtime, multiply it by the total employees that are idle, and you now have your total cost of lost productivity. If this is 5 to 10 minutes at a time, it may seem low, but now if this is happening multiple times a day, multiple times a week, especially consistently, things that can be prevented, that is that is all cost that can be made up by the company, and that will add up quickly over time. Now let's take a look at the room use and efficiency, which can kind of be broken up into three categories. And starting with the space utilization, your company is investing highly in these spaces, and we can take a look at the room occupancy versus bookings. There are many times where people are going to book conference rooms for meetings, whether it's a recurring daily or weekly meeting, or even just a one-time meeting. But then plans change, and with hybrid work environments, maybe they're working remotely, or they decide to take the call from their desk and they don't release the room. With that, now your room is booked, other employees cannot use that space, and that causes downtime. Room capacity versus the room occupants. So we've also seen in our over the years, some people just grow to like certain conference rooms, and you could get one or two people um, taking up a 12-person or more conference room on a regular basis. The larger a room, the larger the initial investment your company has to deploy this room. And if we are not using the space efficiently, then that is now a loss on the investment that you have put in, because there could be others that are searching for a larger room and cannot find it when they need it. And they're having to downgrade their experience. This could also come down to the technology in the room and the frequency of use. Every single piece of technology that you put in a room is an upfront investment as well. And if those devices aren't being used because maybe they just weren't really needed, it was just kind of a nice to have, then that is just a loss in investment. It's a wasted cost for your business. And we can get reports on the frequency of use of many of those devices to see if it's worth the investment and if it's something you should continue to invest in long term. That could even be software features. As I mentioned, some of the larger rooms can get more complicated in their design and in their integration. And many of those features are never touched by users, either because they're too complicated or they just simply aren't needed. But each and every one of those software features, once again, have an upfront cost. Same thing with license fees. Sometimes there are recurring licenses on multiple pieces within a single room. And if it's something like a cable tuner where you're paying for a cable service that's never used or never touched, these are now recurring investments that the company is now just wasting. Once again, the user experience can contribute a lot to downtime. If we do not have those simplified, consistent designs, what happens is it could increase the time each meeting takes to kick off as well. Um, many many older systems can have issues with multiple button presses to kick off a meeting, or as I mentioned, if that one button touch is not working, now you are going through a longer process to get the meeting moving along. And while that doesn't seem like downtime, it is, because now if a meeting could take 25 minutes, but now takes 30 or 35 because it takes an extra 5 to 10 minutes to really get everything kicked off and started, that's additional downtime for every employee just waiting. With that, you also have automation integration to automate the setup of rooms. When you come in and you hit that one touch join button, everything in the room should be set up such as your shades lowering, your lights going to the appropriate level for a video conference, all cameras being set to a preset position, displays turning on, things like that. And all of those features limit the amount of interaction a user has with a panel and limits the amount of time that it takes to kick everything off. Let's go into a vendor-specific portal. So without an integrated partner to assist in managing your rooms, if your enterprise is attempting to manage them yourselves, you're likely looking at all of the vendor portals because many of them have their own today. But that can lead to issues because you're going to have several you're trying to log into or getting alerts from on a regular basis. This is going to start a lot with your collaboration devices. That could be your Microsoft Teams room Pro portal that's going to have all of your Teams room devices in there. That could be your Zoom rooms portal for all of your Zoom meeting rooms if your enterprise uses Zoom instead, Cisco and their WebEx portal, or even Google Meet. You're going to be getting alerts from these portals that aren't customizable, and you are going to have to be logging into multiple portals for different reports or even to locate an issue when it happens. That could get into the control platform of choice, whether that's QSys, Crestron, Extron, AMX. They all have their own portals as well if they are set up with the QSys Reflect, Crestron Fusion or XIO Cloud, Extron's Global Configurator, and AMX's RMS or Room Management System. And when you're having issues in rooms, you may be going to multiple portals to try and find where that is. And then all of your audio video partners and integrations. This does not cover every single one of them. This is just a handful to give an idea of the total portals that are out there. You've got your Neat Pulse, your Logitech, your Poly Lens, your Biamp Reflect, your Sony Management Portal, Jabra Plus, and Lenovo ThinkSmart portals. Um, any business and large corporation could have any number of these portals. It could range anywhere from 3 to about 10 to 12 portals that you are trying to figure out, okay, which devices are in this room, which portals do I need to go check, and which portal actually is showing the error or alert or has an issue. And that can cause a lot of frustration on the technician trying to locate an issue or whoever's trying to analyze data and pull reports. As I mentioned, simplified and consistent systems in a corporation help with this as well, because if you can standardize on a collaboration platform, a control platform, and an audio video platform in rooms, you can limit the number of portals. However, we have seen in large corporations, that's not always possible because every office has their own managers. Every manager likes things done their own way. And without firm policies in place to standardize that, more often than not, different offices are going to have different equipment. So, how has Netrix decided to overcome this? And we have partnered with Utility and have been partnered with them for several years now as the backbone of our management platform. But with Utility, they have coined the term portal fatigue, which describes what I was just explaining. And with that, Utility is a vendor-agnostic solution that communicates to every audio-visual device on the market that has either a direct API integration or an API to a third-party cloud portal that they can be integrated to as well. It offers a single pane of glass, so that way you're not bouncing between all these portals to try and find your error. You're just looking at the single room and seeing the number of alerts that are there, regardless of manufacturer. This leads to a faster identification of errors, which ultimately leads to a faster resolution. It is a 24/7 proactive monitoring platform that is constantly monitoring devices. And anything that cannot be monitored regularly that needs some kind of scripts and macros in, there are automated features where you can implement those and have automated tests run overnight every single night and then send a ticket and an alert if it failed. Um, you can also compare and contrast vendor stability with reports. So if you do have a situation where you have multiple offices and one has, say, chosen Neat as their video platform and one has gone to Logitech, you can pull reports over time to look at the stability of each of those devices. So that way, when you're investing in more rooms, you know which direction you may want to go, and you may want to choose a single standard if it's more stable. It does provide a consistent and customizable alerting structure. So that way you're not getting different emails in different formats from all the other portals. And even if you are linking it in with an ITSM tool such as ServiceNow, um, they're going to come in consistently, so you don't have a full mess of rules and integrations to parse out all that data. As I mentioned, there's direct device API integration or integration with third-party cloud portals. The other downside to the multiple portals that we were just describing is a lot of those portals have their own internal costs. And now the cost of the room over time continues to grow because you're paying for your Microsoft subscription, your Neat subscription, Jabra subscription, a Logitech subscription. You have all these different subscriptions. While if there is an API direct to the device or to a cloud portal that doesn't require an extra fee, you can limit that by using a single platform to monitor all those devices. There is a note there that some device or features do require additional licenses. There are some of those cloud portals that Utility has to interact with that are kind of hidden behind a paywall themselves. So it's not in all situations, but a good partner can help guide you towards the device as well that will limit those costs. Now let's take a look at the return on investment of the proactive alerts and reporting, how we can keep systems up, and even take a look um, at what that means for your business and how it can help drive better business decisions moving forward to overall save your enterprise money. So with the proactive monitoring, as mentioned, it is 24/7 365 days a year, and it's constantly monitoring all equipment since they're up all the time. We are going to get a lot of metrics, and some are customized, such as device online status for every single device. We're going to get any specific device error reports if those devices report their own internal errors. Those are will usually be available in the API as well. We can get a CPU load percentages on anything that has an internal CPU processor, such as those control processors and audio processors. And if they are running high over time, trigger alerts on that. We have microphone audio monitoring. As we mentioned, audio and video is over the network now, in a lot of integrations, and that integration between AV and IT has molded well. Because of that, and some of the network protocols and standards that we mentioned, if they're not set up properly, we can lose that network-based audio or video, and we can monitor those levels coming in. So that way, everything is done proactively, and we're not waiting until somebody kicks off a call and can't be heard. We have all the ancillary device connections, such as your lighting and shade controllers, any expanders for inputs and outputs for control, and amplifiers, things of that nature. We can get health on all of the conference speakerphones, microphones, and cameras to make sure that they are all active 100% of the time and reporting in a healthy state on all of the Teams rooms or Zoom room appliances. We have the Teams rooms application that runs on every single touch panel. We can get health status of that if it is constantly running and it is stable. We have temperature monitoring of many devices. You can check the USB connection between that PC and your ancillary devices, such as your audio platform, your cameras, and the video content coming in to see if any of those USB connections have failed. We can detect for valid video signals to make sure that we are getting valid video and EDID throughout an entire system, as well as HDCP errors, among others. As a part of reporting packages, we can provide system health and uptime reports to show uh, how how well the rooms are performing and how long they are online and any downtime that could be impacting. We can also break these reports out to show any user impacted meetings that have happened. But typically, we just look at a high level, use total uptime of rooms and seek to keep that as high as possible. We'll also look at a trend, a 6-month trend of those reports on a room by room basis to see if there's any room that is consistently underperforming that may need a deeper look, and just open a problem ticket for a full root cause analysis of that space. We can get a lot of conference statistics, such as the total number of minutes a meeting room was in a call. We can look at the total number of calls placed in meeting rooms, or even received, just total calls connected. Can also take a look at the call type, whether it's an audio only call or a video call. Once again, your company is investing more money to add video to these rooms, to add the cameras and the sound bars for video enabled rooms. However, some users still don't like to use video, and they will choose to come in and dial into an audio bridge only, so that video is not engaged, or they're muting that video as soon as it comes in. All of that can be pulled and reported as well. So that way, if there are consistent users, you can ensure that you're getting the return on that investment and ensuring that video is engaged. And then lastly, even call quality percentage. This once again typically goes back to the network, since everything is on the network and those calls do. Microsoft and Zoom, they report, call quality for every single call on whether or not it was reported as poor or a successful and good call, typically based on, network jitter or packet loss and ping statistics. We can get into that room utilization and efficiency to make sure that the rooms that you invested in are being utilized properly. As we mentioned, if we get a couple squatters in a larger room that is taking up a larger room, and you're now kind of losing on that investment because it's not being used for its intended use. So we can look at total room utilization for when it was booked versus when it was actually in meetings, and when people are actually in the room, and cross compare and analyze any of that data. You can also look at the room efficiency based on the capacity of the room, looking at during meetings, how many people are actually coming into the room for meetings. Is it just one person who wants to use a larger room instead of just their laptop? We can look at the local room efficiency. How many people are actually coming into the room to use it when it's not in a meeting? Is somebody just sitting in there to use it as their own personal office? Or is it just two people walking into a 10 or 12 person room when they should be using more of like a four-person huddle? And then even looking at the overall room efficiency, just kind of an average of how many people are in the room over time. With that, we can even get into device usage in some systems that is hardware dependent to make sure that we can monitor to that level, but to see if the devices that you have invested in are being utilized and if they're being used. And if they aren't, then that can help you make decisions moving forward. And if it's something that has a recurring monthly or yearly fee to keep licenses and subscriptions active, you can even look at removing those from the room and from the scope to remove that dead cost for your business. We can even get into some of those larger complex divisible rooms. We have seen over the years that many companies like to have divisible spaces. They could be three, four, five, even 6 to 8 way divisible spaces. And those are a large investment. The divisible rooms likely cost the most. And the more rooms that we're trying to combine or separate, and in the more combinations, exponentially increase the cost of the software on that piece. And we have seen that many companies will invest highly in these divisible spaces, and then they will have it in one configuration for about 95 to 98% of the time, and maybe only use a second configuration once or twice a year. So while we may be looking at six or more combination possibilities, we could have limited that to two and saved a lot of money on the forefront. And if that's the case, if your company is investing in another divisible room, we can help guide those decisions to save that money overall. So now let's take a look at the Netrix Advantage and how Netrix can help with the management and monitoring of your rooms, if you so choose. So Netrix provides holistic managed meeting room solutions. We're going to start with a white glove service. We have, that proactive device monitoring that's up 24/7. We do have full incident management as well as 24 by 7 priority incident management. This comes with unlimited remote support into your systems, as well as optional unlimited on-site and preventative maintenance support. Preventative maintenance will be limited to a certain number of times per year, but that unlimited on-site support is typically bought into as well to limit how much cost is incurred after the fact for rolling a truck if needed. We also have evolving monitoring platforms. As I mentioned, we did partner with Utility. There are many other companies that use Utility. However, we have the internal expertise to customize drivers and the metrics to best suit your company. We will also evaluate on monthly reports any tickets that are being opened by users that were not opened by the proactive monitoring solution, and to see if there's any way that we can start proactive monitoring that in the future. So that way it's continually evolving and you're not just kind of set with what was there initially. And with that, with those custom drivers, we can, pull in additional metrics and alerts that many other companies aren't because they're just kind of using the stock out of the box drivers that's provided. Firmware updates are included in every single managed service contract where we can provide updates and reports on the firmware of every device in your enterprise, as well as put forth testing and rollout procedures for any critical updates that are needed. Customized reporting. A lot of the screenshots I had shown in the previous slides come from a standard sample template deck that is included as a baseline. However, we can tailor these reports to your business, how you want to see the data, or even change the data entirely to see what's going to assist in the return on investment for your corporation. And Netrix as a whole is not just digital workplace. While we have the meeting room solutions portion of our digital workplace also branches out into the voice and data and network segments as well. We do cloud infrastructure, our own internal clouds. We can stand up clouds for your corporation as well, or even just host things in our own cloud and manage that. Cybersecurity, data and AI, a full IT service management platform, which we'll get into in a minute, as well as application development. So with that, Netrix has standardized ITSM processes. This is different than most AV companies because a lot of AV companies are still somewhat segmented from IT and ITSM processes. And while they may have proactive support models or even reactive support from users entering tickets, you're not going to see that standardized processes that you typically would see. So these standardized processes do look like different typical classifications, whether it's an incident, a change request, or a problem ticket, to classify and handle and treat those differently, as well as setting up, proper change management protocols to, implement that change in a single room with rollout, backout procedures, going through the full justification and risk analysis of the change, as well as problem ticket management. This goes into, we have a full knowledge base set up within our ITSM platform to ensure that a lot of the standard tickets that we see on a regular basis have documented procedures of what the common resolutions are. So that way every engineer and every technician can um, get to a resolution faster and more efficiently. We use standardized incident prioritization that your IT department is typically familiar with. That could be priorities ranging from P1s through P5s, where P1s would look like an entire building or network outage. A P2 would be like an entire room being down. A P3 is more of like an inconvenience, a single device being down, but you can still operate the core functions. And then P4s and P5s are typically under that change request or could even get into hardware failures that are lowered in classification while waiting on those RMAs. SLA adherence, and that is by priority as well. Netrix will partner with you to put SLAs in place to ensure that we are adhering to SLAs. And as mentioned, by priority, so higher level priorities, P1s and P2s have much tighter SLAs that we are contractually required to oblige, or there could be, credits and refunds issued as we manage to maintain those. We also have a 24/7 service desk and also for escalations. Tickets can be entered anytime, 24/7. We have a full rotation of on-call support looking at those priority tickets as well. And escalations can be made either by calling into our service desk, emailing our service desk with a ticket number, or even just responding to the ticket and asking for an escalation. And as mentioned, the 24/7 priority incident management. So if you have P1s or P2s that are coming in on nights and weekends, those will be addressed prior to users running into issues in the rooms, or notification will be sent. And then we get into our automated ticket flow. So just kind of an example of what that ticket flow looks like through the proactive alerts and the automation. First, there's going to be an error that's detected on a device or via the monitoring appliance by using that device API. It may not even be an error because it could be a normal situation, but in that room specifically, something should be connected all the time, and seeing that disconnect shows an error. Based on that, the device metrics and an error is reported to the cloud-based platform. And then within minutes, a customized email is generated and sent to the Netrix's ITSM platform. Today we are on ServiceNow, and that is what we use as our standard. And then that platform will automatically sets the priority, the company, the location, the room, and the assignment team for the incident. And then our digital workplace service technicians will receive the incident and connect to the devices remotely, validate the alert, and validate that there is a problem. And at that point in time, the technician will alert the point of contact on site and any predefined contacts for that local business unit or the location that the issue is being investigated. And then the technician will work remotely to resolve the issue. And if that is not possible, we'll schedule an on-site technician with the point of contact there. Note that there are similar processes in this for user entered tickets. It just kind of removes the first few steps there of the proactive automated piece. And that just starts with a user either calling into our help desk or emailing into our help desk. Going into that, I should have stated at the beginning, apologies. You guys can enter any questions in the chat and we will get back to you as soon as we are able, and should have those responses fairly quickly. As a quick recap here, the growing need for managed meeting rooms, especially in hybrid work environments, is critical, and users and respondents in different surveys have kind of shown that. there are many common issues that your users could experience with those kind of connection issues, the video and audio issues in rooms. And it is crucial to partner with a good managed services company that can manage these rooms, keep the uptime as high as possible, and minimize the frustration and the headaches for users, which overall increases the adoption and increases the return on the investment that you have placed in every single one of these. If you would like more information on this, feel free to reach out to the email here, info@netrixglobal.com, and you can get connected with myself, with Satyendra, or any of our sales engineers. With that, I hope you all have a great rest of your day.